Cruise lines collected over $1.2 billion in avoidable passenger fees last year alone, and packing mistakes were responsible for a staggering chunk of that number. Most travelers board their ship thinking they packed smart. They did not. There are 15 specific packing mistakes that are costing real people real money in 2026, and the worst part is that almost every single one of them is completely preventable. Mistake number 7 is the one that ruins more port days than any other, and almost nobody talks about it. Mistake number 1 has already cost passengers thousands of dollars this year, and the cruise lines are counting on you to keep making it. Before we get into this, if you have ever come home from a cruise wishing you had packed differently, hit that subscribe button right now, because every single week this channel publishes insider knowledge that the cruise industry spends a lot of money hoping you never find out. Mistake 1. Passport and travel documents in checked luggage. Here is the one that starts the nightmare before the vacation even begins. A 64-year-old from Houston checked her luggage at the cruise terminal, walked to the boarding line, and watched her bag disappear onto the conveyor belt. She got to the check-in desk and realized her passport was zipped inside that bag. The bag was already in the belly of the ship, inaccessible until after sailing. She spent 4 hours in a holding area while port agents attempted to locate her luggage. She boarded late, stressed, and missed the sail-away party she had been looking forward to for 2 years. Here is why this keeps happening. The cruise terminal looks like an airport. It functions like an airport in many ways, and travelers default to airport habits. At an airport, you grab your bag off the carousel and clear customs yourself. On a cruise ship, your checked bag goes directly to your cabin via crew, and it often does not arrive until hours after you board. If your passport and boarding documents are inside that bag, you have no documents to present at check-in. No documents means no boarding, and the ship will absolutely sail without you. Here is what you do. Every single travel document goes in your personal carry-on bag. Passports, boarding passes, cruise cards, health declarations, pre-registration confirmations, and any port-specific visas go in a document organizer that never leaves your hand from the moment you leave your house until the moment you are standing inside your cabin. Rule of thumb, if losing it would ruin your trip, it goes on your body, not in your checked bag. Mistake 2. Packing medication incorrectly. This one has a very real medical consequence, and it happens far more often than cruise lines want to publicize. A 71-year-old from Charlotte packed her blood pressure medication, her thyroid pills, and her daily aspirin into her checked luggage to save space in her carry-on. Her bag was delayed in the ship's luggage system. It did not arrive at her cabin until nearly 11 p.m. on embarkation day. She missed 2 medication doses. By day 2 of the cruise, she was in the ship's medical center. The onboard medical visit cost her $340 out of pocket. Here is the mistake inside the mistake. Checked luggage on a cruise ship is not guaranteed to arrive at your cabin at any specific time. Some bags show up at 3 p.m., others arrive after dinner, and in rare cases they get misrouted entirely. If your medications is inside that bag, you have no control over when you get it back. Beyond the timing problem, there is also a temperature problem. Checked luggage can sit on hot loading docks, inside warm cargo holds, and in areas with no climate control for hours. Many medications, including insulin, certain heart medications, and some antibiotics, degrade when exposed to heat. Here is what you do. Every medication you take, prescription or over-the-counter, goes in your carry-on bag in its original labeled container. Pack a minimum of 3 extra days' worth beyond your trip length in case of delays or emergencies. If you take injectable medication or anything that requires refrigeration, speak with your cruise line before you sail to confirm refrigerator access in your cabin. Insider move: carry a printed copy of your prescriptions and your doctor's contact information tucked in with your medications. Onboard medical staff will ask for it. Mistake 3. Ignoring new power bank rules. The rules changed in 2025, and a significant number of travelers are still getting stopped at security checkpoints in 2026 because they did not check the updates. A 58-year-old from Denver had a 40,000 milliamp hour power bank confiscated at the terminal in Fort Lauderdale. He had used it on 6 previous cruises with 0 issues. The new IATA and cruise line compliance rules that took effect limit passengers to power banks under 27 1000 milliamp hours, and some major cruise lines have dropped that limit even further for their own policies. Here is why this matters beyond losing your power bank at the gate. Cruise ship cabin outlets are notoriously limited. Most standard cabins have 1 or 2 outlets near the desk, and USB ports are often slow charging or entirely decorative. If you are traveling with a CPAP machine, a phone, a tablet, a camera battery, and a Bluetooth hearing device, you are competing for a very small number of power sources. A compliant power bank is not a luxury item. It is a practical necessity that keeps your devices charged during long port days when you are away from your cabin for 8 to 10 hours at a stretch. Here is what you do. Before you pack any power bank, check the current watt-hour rating against your specific cruise line's published 2026 policy. Do not assume last year's rule still applies. Keep your power bank in your carry-on, never in checked luggage, because lithium batteries in checked bags are prohibited by aviation and maritime regulations. Label your power bank with your name and cabin number using a luggage tag before you board. Mistake 4. No embarkation day carry-on bag. Embarkation day is the most chaotic day of any cruise, and the passengers who suffer the most are the ones who packed everything into their checked luggage and have nothing with them during the wait. A 66-year-old couple from Phoenix arrived at the terminal at noon. Their cabin was not ready until 2 p.m. Their luggage did not arrive until after 6 p.m. They spent 6 hours with no sunscreen, no snacks, no medication, no change of clothes, and no phone charger. The husband's phone died during the muster drill. Here is the reality of embarkation day that the cruise line's glossy brochures never explain. You board the ship hours before your cabin is accessible. You then wait again before your checked luggage arrives. During that entire window, which can stretch from 2 to 7 hours depending on the sailing, you have access to the pool deck, the buffet, the bars, and the public spaces, but you have nothing from your suitcase. If you packed everything for efficiency, you packed yourself into a very uncomfortable afternoon. Here is what you do. Pack a dedicated embarkation day carry-on bag the night before you sail. Include a swimsuit and cover-up, sunscreen, a phone charger and charging cable, any medications you need during the day, a light snack or 2, your travel documents, and a small amount of cash. This bag gets carried onto the ship by hand. It is your survival kit for the hours between boarding and the moment your cabin is fully ready. Pro tip: wear your most comfortable walking shoes on embarkation day because you will be on your feet far longer than you expect. If this video is already saving you from making mistakes you were about to make on your next sailing, share it with one other person who is planning a cruise this year. You might save them a significant amount of money and frustration. Now, back to the list. Mistake 5. Assuming you can buy everything on board. This is the mistake that sounds reasonable in theory and costs the most money in practice. A 62-year-old from Nashville forgot to pack travel-sized toiletries and figured she would just pick them up at the ship's shop. She found the items she needed, but she paid $14 for a small bottle of shampoo, $9 for a travel deodorant, and $22 for a basic sunscreen. She spent over $80 on items she could have brought from home for under $12. Here is the economic reality of cruise ship retail. The onboard shops exist to capture spending from exactly this situation. Everything from sunscreen to over-the-counter pain relievers to phone charging cables costs 2 to 4 times what you would pay at any pharmacy or discount store on land. The ship is not a convenience store, it is a captive market, and the pricing reflects that completely. Beyond the cost issue, availability is another problem. If you need a specific brand of medication, a particular type of adapter, or a size-inclusive clothing item, the ship's shop may not carry it at all, and the next port stop may be 2 days away. Here is what you do. Make a complete packing checklist 2 weeks before your sailing date, not 2 days before. Walk through every scenario, including sea days, port days, formal nights, medical needs, and weather changes, and make sure every item on that list is either in your bag or has been deliberately removed because you genuinely do not need it. The 10 minutes you spend building that checklist saves you hundreds of dollars in overpriced shipboard retail. Mistake 6. No AirTag or luggage tracker. Checked luggage gets lost, delayed, and misrouted on cruise ships with surprising regularity, and the passengers who have no way of tracking their bags spend far more time, energy, and anxiety trying to locate them. A 69-year-old from Atlanta watched 3 other passengers on her sailing get their luggage delivered to the wrong cabin. One of those bags contained formal wear for a dinner that evening. She did not have a tracker in her bag. She spent 2 hours at guest services trying to figure out where her luggage had gone. Here is what actually happens with cruise ship luggage handling. Your bags are tagged, loaded onto carts at the terminal, transported through the ship's service corridors, and distributed to cabins by crew members who are handling hundreds of bags simultaneously. It is a fast process, and errors happen. Without a tracker, your only option when a bag goes missing is to describe it to a crew member and wait. With a tracker, you can tell guest services exactly which deck your bag is sitting on, which dramatically accelerates the process. Here is what you do. Place an AirTag or a similar Bluetooth luggage tracker inside every checked bag before you leave home. Make sure the tracker is charged. Keep the associated app on your phone so you can pull up the location the moment you need it. This is a one-time purchase of under $30 that pays for itself the first time your bag takes a wrong turn. Mistake 7. Wearing the wrong shoes. This is the mistake that physically derails port days, and it is the single most preventable source of ruined excursions on any cruise sailing. A 57-year-old from Seattle packed 2 pairs of dressy sandals and 1 pair of canvas sneakers for a 7-day Caribbean itinerary. On day 3 in Cozumel, she wore the sandals for a walking excursion through cobblestone streets. Within 2 hours, she had developed blisters on both feet so severe that she had to return to the ship while her group continued. She spent her entire port day in the cabin. Here is what makes this mistake so costly beyond the obvious discomfort. Many cruise destinations involve terrain that nobody mentions in the glossy excursion descriptions. Cobblestone streets in Europe and the Caribbean are beautiful to look at and brutal to walk on for more than 20 minutes in unsupported footwear. Many tender ports require stepping from a moving boat onto a dock. Archaeological sites involve uneven ground, steep steps, and long distances with no shade. If your shoes are not specifically built for sustained walking on uneven surfaces, your feet will fail before the excursion does. Here is what you do. Pack at minimum 2 pairs of well-broken-in supportive walking shoes. Do not pack new shoes for a cruise. Breaking in shoes is something that needs to happen over weeks of regular wear, not during a 4-mile walking excursion in 90-degree heat. If you are doing any beach activities, pack dedicated water shoes that protect your feet on rocky entries and coral. Formal shoes are fine for 1 or 2 dinners, but they should not be the primary footwear strategy for a 7-day sailing. Mistake 8. Packing too many formal clothes. Formal night culture on cruise ships has changed dramatically over the past 5 years, and passengers who pack based on outdated expectations are wasting half their luggage space on clothes they never wear. A 63-year-old from Boston packed 4 formal outfits for a 7-night sailing, expecting multiple elegant dinners and a grand ballroom atmosphere. She attended 1 formal dinner on day 4. The rest of the week was smart casual at most. Here is the current reality. Most mainstream cruise lines have softened their formal requirements significantly. What was once a strict black tie or equivalent expectation is now typically described as smart casual or evening attire, and enforcement at the dining room door is minimal. The passengers wearing full tuxedos and ball gowns are still there, but they are now in the minority on most sailings. If you pack 4 formal outfits, you are sacrificing suitcase space that could carry practical items you will actually use every single day. Here is what you do. Research your specific cruise line's current dress code policy before you pack, not the general reputation of the line, but the actual written policy for 2026 sailings. Plan for 1 formal outfit per formal night, and confirm in advance how many formal nights your specific itinerary includes. For every other evening, smart casual separates that can be mixed and matched, take up a fraction of the space, and cover you for any dinner scenario you will actually encounter on that ship. Mistake 9. Forgetting a reusable water bottle. Staying hydrated on a cruise is more difficult than most people anticipate, and the cost of not bringing your own water source adds up in ways that are genuinely shocking by the end of a sailing. A 60-year-old from Dallas spent $11 per day on individual bottled water purchases throughout her 7-night cruise because she forgot to bring a reusable bottle. That is $77 in water costs that she could have avoided entirely for the price of a $15 insulated bottle. Here's why hydration is a specific challenge on cruise ships. You are almost always outdoors and active during port days in hot climates. The combination of heat, physical activity, and alcohol consumption at sea creates significant dehydration risk. The solution should be free water from the ship's filtered water stations, which are available on every ship at no charge. But without a vessel to carry that water, you are limited to purchasing bottles every time you are thirsty. On a port day where you are away from the ship for 8 hours, that cost accumulates quickly. Here is what you do. Pack one quality insulated water bottle per person traveling in your party. Fill it at the ship's water stations every morning before you leave for a port day. An insulated bottle will keep your water cold for hours in hot weather, which is a meaningful quality of life improvement on a humid Caribbean or Mediterranean day. Pro tip: some cruise lines now have water bottle filling stations at the gangway exit, specifically for passengers heading ashore. Ask your cruise director if your ship has one. Mistake 10. No crossbody bag for port days. Port day security is a real concern that most cruise travel content glosses over completely, and the passengers who ignore it sometimes pay a very serious price. A 55-year-old from Chicago was on a walking tour in Nassau when a pickpocket removed her wallet from her tote bag while she was looking at a market display. She lost her cash, her credit cards, and her ship ID card. She spent the rest of the port day at the ship's guest services desk dealing with the fallout instead of exploring. Here is the security reality of cruise ports. Popular cruise destinations are also popular targets for petty theft, precisely because cruise passengers are easy to identify, tend to carry cash, and are often unfamiliar with the local environment. Shoulder bags, tote bags, and backpacks with open-top access are significantly more vulnerable than bags that close securely across your body. In crowded markets, tender boat lines, and busy port squares, a moment of distraction is all the opportunity a skilled pickpocket needs. Here's what you do. Invest in one quality crossbody bag that zips securely at the top and sits close to your body. RFID blocking pockets are an added layer of protection worth having. On port days, carry only what you genuinely need: your ship card, a single credit card, a modest amount of local currency, your phone, and your sunscreen. Leave extra cash, your passport, and any valuables you do not need ashore locked in your cabin safe before you walk down the gangway. Mistake 11. Bringing full-size toiletries. Full-size toiletries take up a disproportionate amount of suitcase space relative to their actual utility on a 7 to 14-day cruise, and they create unnecessary complications at security checkpoints if you are flying to your embarkation port. A 67-year-old from Philadelphia packed her regular full-size shampoo, conditioner, body wash, face wash, and lotion. Between those 5 items alone, she had consumed most of her toiletry bag allowance and added significant weight to her luggage before a single piece of clothing went in. Here is what most experienced cruisers know that first-timers and infrequent sailors often miss. Most cruise ship cabins come stocked with basic soap, shampoo, and conditioner. The quality varies significantly by cruise line, with luxury lines providing genuinely good products and budget lines providing minimally functional ones. If you are sailing on a premium or luxury line, you may be able to leave most of your toiletries at home entirely. Even if you prefer your own products, travel-sized versions serve exactly the same purpose as full-size versions for a week at sea. Here is what you do. 2 weeks before you're sailing, do an inventory of every toiletry you plan to bring. If a travel-sized version exists, use it. If you have loyalty points or travel rewards with any hotel brand, many of them offer free toiletry sets that are ideal for cruise use. Decant your preferred products into reusable travel containers that hold exactly the amount you need for your trip length, not the amount that comes in the standard retail size. Mistake 12. Forgetting magnetic hooks and cabin organizers. Cruise cabins are intelligently designed for maximum use of limited space, but they operate on the assumption that passengers know the secret. The walls, the bathroom door, and the back of the cabin door are all magnetic metal surfaces that accept hooks, organizers, and hanging systems. The passengers who know this live comfortably in their cabin all week. The passengers who do not know it live out of open suitcases, trip over bags, and feel cramped from day one. A 70-year-old from Seattle did not bring any magnetic organizers on her first cruise. She piled her daily essentials on the desk, stacked her shoes near the door, and draped wet swimsuits over the balcony railing. Her cabin felt chaotic and small. Her neighbor, traveling in an identical cabin, had brought 6 magnetic hooks and an overdoor organizer. Her space felt open and controlled all week. Here is what you do. Before you're sailing, purchase a set of strong magnetic hooks rated for cruise ship walls. These are inexpensive and available at any home goods store. Bring an over-the-door organizer for the bathroom door to hold your toiletries, sunscreen, and small items that would otherwise crowd the sink area. Use magnetic hooks on the cabin walls to hang hats, lanyards, wet towels, and your daily itinerary. Insider move, use a small magnetic clip on your cabin door with a recognizable decoration so you can spot your door instantly in a hallway where every door looks identical. Mistake 13. Not checking weather before packing. Packing for a cruise without checking the specific weather forecast for each port destination is packing blind, and the consequences range from mild discomfort to genuinely ruined excursions. A 61-year-old from Miami packed exclusively for tropical weather on an Alaska cruise because she assumed the word cruise implied warm weather. She had sundresses, sandals, and lightweight tops. Her itinerary had highs in the low 50s with heavy rain in 2 of her 5 ports. Here is the broader problem beyond the obvious example of tropical versus cold weather packing. Even destinations that seem climatically predictable can produce weather surprises in specific seasons. The Mediterranean in October is not the same as the Mediterranean in July. The Caribbean in November hurricane tail season is not the same as February. Norwegian fjords in June have their own specific layering requirements that differ from Norwegian fjords in August. A generic approach to packing based on regional reputation rather than actual current weather data is a gamble with your comfort for the entire trip. Here is what you do. No earlier than 2 weeks before your sailing date, and no later than 3 days before, pull the detailed weather forecast for each specific port on your itinerary. Note the expected highs, lows, precipitation probability, and humidity levels. Pack accordingly, including a packable rain jacket that compresses into its own pocket, a light base layer for cool evenings at sea, and sun-protective clothing for high UV index port days. The weather check takes 20 minutes and guarantees you have what you actually need. Mistake 14. Forgetting to print cruise luggage tags. This is the mistake that costs almost nothing to prevent and creates a genuinely miserable start to the trip when it goes wrong. Cruise lines send luggage tag instructions by email weeks before sailing. A surprising number of passengers either lose the email, forget to print the tags, or assume the tags will be available at the terminal. A 65-year-old from Cincinnati arrived at the port of Miami with no printed luggage tags. The terminal had a workaround, but it required her to wait in a separate line for 40 minutes while her travel companions had already boarded. Here is why printed luggage tags matter specifically. Your cruise luggage tag contains your booking number, cabin number, and sailing date in both printed and barcode form. It tells the crew exactly which cabin your bag goes to without any manual lookup. When bags arrive at the terminal without tags, they go into a manual processing queue that moves significantly slower than the standard automated sorting system. On a large ship with 4,000 passengers embarking on the same day, that queue is not a fast one. Here is what you do. When you receive your cruise documents by email, print your luggage tags immediately and store them in your travel document folder. Many cruise lines now offer luggage tag holders or sleeves that can be purchased inexpensively online. These protect the printed tag from getting wet or torn during terminal handling, which is more of a risk than it sounds given that luggage handling is not a gentle process. Print a spare copy of your tags and keep it inside your suitcase as a backup in case the exterior tag gets damaged or removed. Mistake 15. Leaving no space for souvenirs. This is the mistake that ends every cruise on a frustrating note, and it is entirely avoidable with 30 seconds of planning before you zip your suitcase at home. A 68-year-old from New Orleans packed her suitcase completely full for a 10-day Mediterranean sailing. She bought beautiful ceramics in Greece, a leather bag in Italy, and a collection of local food items in Spain. On disembarkation morning, she could not close her suitcase. She had to pay $75 for a cardboard box at the ship's front desk and spend 45 minutes repacking on the floor of her cabin at 6 a.m. Here is the psychology behind this mistake. When you are packing to go on vacation, you are focused on having everything you need. When you are buying souvenirs at a market in Santorini, you are focused on the joy of the purchase. Almost nobody is thinking about suitcase capacity in both directions simultaneously, which means the return trip logistics get ignored until they become a problem. A completely full suitcase going out is a guaranteed problem coming home. Here is what you do. Deliberately leave 20 to 25% of your suitcase volume empty when you pack for departure. Pack a lightweight collapsible duffel bag as a second bag that folds flat and weighs almost nothing, which can be used as an overflow bag on the return trip if your souvenir situation gets enthusiastic. If you plan to buy fragile items like ceramics, liquor bottles, or glass art, pack a small amount of bubble wrap or use your clothing as cushioning material on the return. Rule of thumb, the best cruise packing strategy is the one that works just as well on the way home as it does on the way there. Every single mistake on this list is completely preventable with the right preparation, and preparation is exactly what this channel is built around. If you found value in this video, subscribe right now, because the next video covers the 15 embarkation day mistakes that are getting passengers denied boarding in 2026, and some of them are even more costly than the packing mistakes you just learned about. A 72-year-old from Orlando used the exact strategies covered in that video and sailed through check-in in under 15 minutes while other passengers in line were turned away and rebooked. That video is available right now. Go watch it. And do not let a preventable mistake cost you the cruise you have been planning all year.